so I think the first time we sat down, I think I asked you this, so this seems like the right segue for it. So for everything that we've talked about here, and the addiction to outrage and all that, there's going to be a certain amount of people that are watching this and going, wait a minute, Glenn Beck was one of the people that was peddling this stuff. Mm-hmm. I think I know you pretty well right now, and I feel like you are honest in your beliefs, and you've had some mea culpas about some of the things you've said. Even just you got into something on Twitter with my friend Majid Nuaz, and he sent you a clip of something that you did about him a couple of years back, and you apologized immediately. You said, I'd love to talk to you and learn more, and all of those things.
I just asked about him today. When is he coming in?
Yeah, and I looped you guys in on email, right? So. Is there anything you can add to that about just sort of how you've changed? Like, do you remember a moment? Was there something about that? Because maybe there are people that are going down that road right now that still want more of the outrage and still are, as they call it, shit posting on Twitter and the rest of it. If you were trying to get somebody to turn back.
No, because there were really personal experiences. I went from that global poll that comes out around Christmas time, most admired men in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. I was tied with the Pope just behind Nelson Mandela. Okay? That's insane. That's insane. 12 months later, I'm no longer on that list, and I'm hated.
Yeah.
Now, I was saying the same things on CNN that I was saying on Fox. Okay? So that was confusing. And it was... you can't be hated by half of the country. I mean, unless you're just a, maniacal, egomaniac that is just beyond any kind of redemption. You cannot be hated by half of the country, a false hero for the other half of the country, and not go, okay, I'm not that. I don't think I'm that.
Yeah.
So who am I? What part of it? Most people will go, well, they spent millions of dollars to destroy my reputation, to take things out of context, and they did. But I also did things because my philosophy at the time was, if I can get enough eyeballs, if I can get people to watch, which puts me in Lederhosen, singing Edelweiss. If I can get people to watch, then I present them with facts and my opinion of where it's going. Forget about everything else. They'll hang on to the facts, and someone in the press will go, I hate that. I'm going to prove him wrong. They never did. Mm-hmm. They never would look at the facts.
So this is always where they just want to belittle you and shame you and silence you.
And I helped them, okay? I added to that. So I'm not saying it's somebody else. I am taking my responsibility. But the biggest thing is, now on the other side, I can look and say, wait, all of you in the press, you said I was the worst. Let me go get the transcripts. See what I just said? That's what you said to the 10th power right here. It won't work. It's wrong, and it won't work. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to look. Everyone wants to point to the other person. Nobody's willing to go, is it me?
But you think that 70% that you mentioned before maybe is starting to do that a little bit? I mean, again, I'm trying to find how to get out of this thing.
Okay.
And so I think that 70% where I'm meeting, I know it's a select group because they're coming to see me in Jordan.
It doesn't take 70%.
But, yeah.
It takes 17.
Yeah.
10 committed. 10% committed changes the world. 17 is your tipping point. So it doesn't take all of us. Revolution was fought by about 20% of America. Okay? Those were the ones who said, I believe in this. We have to understand, and a lot of the book is about postmodernism and how that works and what its goals are. What does postmodern even mean? What's the modern world? It's not about a machine. It's about the scientific process. It's about exploration and empirical data and testing A and B and living with the results. That's what the modern world is. So when you realize...
So you would say postmodern really is anti-modern, in essence,
Yeah,
because it's going against the ways that we've been able to measure anything, the way we've been able to look at.
When you don't understand postmodernism and you read the headline, which I did, math is racist. You either go, these people are out of their fucking minds and I can't take it anymore, or you can say, how? How did they get there? When you ask that question, you start to go and peel the layers down and you see the core of this idea, good or bad, that what came out of the modern era, the Enlightenment, was this. And they say this is bad.
They say this is bad. That really is it.
Yeah, and anything that holds this up must be destroyed. If that's math, if that's you, doesn't matter. If you understand that it's all about deconstruction, and deconstruction is all about chaos, you must not do anything to hasten the chaos. You have to restrain yourself. The best way to fight, this isn't about Gandhi. Oh, I want to be just like Jesus. No, I want to win. Mm-hmm. And the best way to win is to restrain yourself from adding any of the chaos. Be clear, be soft-spoken, be the person that everybody in the room, when everybody is arguing, they kind of look around the room and there's maybe 3 people over there that are just laughing and having fun and just, because you will be the one that will control the room in the end. Everybody else will kill themselves. But the majority of people will go, oh, I hate this. And they'll make their way over to you. That's what we have to do. We have to stop fighting on the stupid stuff. The stupid stuff. Gay wedding cakes. Good God, man.
Yeah,
they're killing homosexuals right now, today, in parts of the country. What do you say we start there? What do you say we talk about something that really makes a difference? Really makes a difference. We'll get to the gay wedding cakes.
Yeah.
Let's be good people first.
Yeah, it's so interesting how people just don't want to do the intellectual work. And now it's like we have these phones, we have endless distractions, to the point that perhaps 20 years ago, you might have a moment standing on a corner waiting for a friend to go to dinner where you'd have to think. But we can distract ourselves to the point where we actually never have to think anymore. When was the last time you just stood somewhere? I mean, I know you're aware of all of this stuff, but when was the last time you, Glenn Beck, just stood somewhere on the corner waiting for your wife to meet you and you weren't looking at your phone, or you weren't,
I try to do what you did, but I can't do it for a month.
You have too many employees, that's the problem. Yeah. I only have like 5.
I try to do it once a week. Don't make it every time, but just, I'm not going to be online. Do not pick up your device. Go out on a date with your wife and do not carry a device. No. Don't have it with you. That's important. And it's important, Dave, because I learned something with my alcoholism. I was struggling with so many things when I was younger that I didn't want to think about. I didn't want to think about the things that I had done in my life, the things that I was, oh, poor me about. I just didn't want to think about it. And I would turn on the radio, and I'd turn it up loud, and I'd be driving my car. And I never really consciously connected the two. It got to the point where it was so bad that if I didn't have something to distract, I would literally be by myself and I'd go, la, 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 just to block out my thoughts, okay? That's a problem. And I realized when I was finally no longer, I was sober and not just not drinking, was the time that I was driving someplace, and I must have been driving for about an hour, and I hadn't turned anything on. And I realized at one point, I'm just driving, and I kind of come to thinking, about what's in the car, what's happening, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what's on the radio. Oh my gosh, I've been alone with myself and my thoughts for an hour. That's a sign of mental health.
Yeah.
We're sick. We're sick.
So in the book, in the foreword, you very graciously, and I'm humbled that you did it. You included me in a list of names of people that you put in there. And
You know, Ben had this, and I even wrote to Ben. I wrote an inscription on this page.
yeah.
Like 2 days later, he calls me, "Oh my gosh." We were with each other for 2 days.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, thanks very much." And then, like at midnight one night, I get this text.
He's a busy guy. You know?
I know. To those who are willing to step out in front of the crowd to question, reason, and have dangerous conversations, men with whom I may strongly disagree with at times, but I will always consider refounders of reason and contemporary heroes. Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, Jordan Peterson, Brett Weinstein, Sam Harris, Jonathan Sachs, Penn Jillette, and Joe Rogan.
So I thought, I don't want to make this about me. So the one that I thought was most interesting there actually was Sam Harris, because I suspect you guys probably, if he disagrees with Jordan Peterson on everything, pretty much everything, policy, existentialism, meaning of life, the whole damn thing, you guys probably disagree on everything plus one. I don't know if we went
great?
through. No, and I thought, well, this is what it's all about.
Right,
This is what it's all
great.
about. So, but would you have ever, I mean, 20 years ago, if you
Yes.
were writing a book, you would,
Yes.
you still would have done that sort of thing?
I've often joked that my library is the library of a serial killer. Because I was too broke to actually go get a formal education. So I would go to Barnes & Noble or the library and I'd go, who hates each other? This opinion. Who hates this opinion? That person. And I would read them both. And I would look at them and say, is there anything where they intersect? Because that I know is true. If both these people are from opposite ends of the spectrum and they both say, this is true, I know that one line in both books is true, okay? So start small and build the basis of truth. And what motivated me was a line from Thomas Jefferson that he wrote to his nephew, Peter Carr. Peter's parents had both died. When his dad was ill, he said, "Can you please educate my son when he comes of age?" So Thomas writes this unbelievable letter. You know, in mathematics, you have to do this. In literature, you have to do this. The last thing is religion. I love it. It's changed my life. When it comes to religion, above all things, fix reason firmly in her seat and question with boldness even the very existence of God. For if there be a God, he must surely rather honest questioning over blindfolded fear. We break down on the word honest. Honest questioning. You and I like each other and get along because you haven't asked me a setup question and I've never asked you a setup question. It's an honest question.
Hang on just a second. I have a cup. Yeah, but that is it.
And that's good.
Yeah.
That keeps you young, that keeps you alive. The minute you start, I knew my father was going to die. My father was the kind of guy who always had a book in his back pocket, okay? Self-educated man. And he was always exploring and questioning, and he was so granola Fruit Loop, be one with the universe kind of guy. And I call him up. We were best friends for a long time. And I'd call him sometimes 2-3 times a day. And we'd just talk about books we're reading and things. And did you hear this opinion? What do you think of this? We talk about the future, the past, all of it. And I said, Dad, I just read this fantastic book. You have to read this. I'm going to send it to you. And he said, that's okay. And I said, what? And he said, I'm tired. I think I've learned enough.
Huh.
3 years later, he was gone. When you are not, we're built to explore. And when you're not exploring, what's left?
What would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
I told my wife when she married me, this is one reason I lucked out so much. My wife hates fame, she hates wealth, she hates red carpet, she hates all of it. Because she married me and her family was like, you're not gonna marry him, he is a loser. He's not going to amount to anything. when she married me, because I'm the first out of every generation that we can find going back, I'm the first male that has not become a baker. And so I would probably be a chef in some place, I'm not good at baking.
But I was just going to say, would you bake me a cake? That's the inherent...
No, I'm not good at baking. I am good, as my father said, baking, son, is about formulas. Cooking is winging it.
Yeah.
And I'm not good with formulas.
Yeah.
I'm too impatient.
You're definitely a winging it kind of guy. So generally speaking, do you feel, it's funny, the first half of what we've done here was sort of fire and brimstone, sort of, or laying out, this thing could really go off the rails. I think the last 20 minutes or so, it's been a little more hopeful.
I'm an optimistic catastrophist. You do not want to be anywhere near me on the Titanic until we get to the iceberg. As we're going to the iceberg, I'm saying, are you kidding me? Have you counted the lifeboats? There's not enough lifeboats. We're headed into cold area. If these people, they're going to be irresponsible. They're not going to pay attention to the ice, but they're arrogant. They're going to hit the iceberg and we're all going to die. Okay? As soon as we hit that iceberg, I'm there. We're going to make it. We're going to make it. Because I believe that when people are awake, they will awaken to who they truly are. And I think Americans are different. We have this spirit in us of exploration. We're the people who cross the oceans. We're the people that cross the Rockies. I have to tell you, if I were alive during the time when we were exploring, I don't even think I would have made it past the Missouri, but definitely I would have gotten to Denver and went, okay, guys, I am not going we're not crossing those, okay? I always think every time I'm on the 5 that goes by the Getty Museum, which is that the 5?
Oh, the 405.
405.
Yeah.
Every time I'm on the 405.
We bumped to LA suddenly, yeah.
I see the Getty Museum up there and I think, if I were a pioneer and I made it this far, I would have built my house in this valley and people would have been on the top of the hill going, you should see what's on it. And I'd be like, I am done. But generally, people are explorers, and they're good, and they're hardy, and they want to live.
I think they do want to live.
And they want to live in peace and harmony. I think that about the Palestinians and the Israelis. If you could, and I've done it, when you don't have a camera in somebody's face, and nobody knows you're talking. You sit down in a house of a Palestinian, and most likely, average person, they're like, I don't really care. I mean, I want to raise my family. I just want to be left alone. I want to be able to eat. Maybe a little extra money so a wife and I can go off for a nice weekend. That's people. It's when everybody starts telling them, it's them, that's keeping you down. That's when there's trouble.
Do you find it weird in a way that we're thought of as political beasts? Because in a certain way, we really haven't talked about politics here. And I find now, I'm probably less interested in politics now, today, than I've ever been in my adult life in a bizarre way. You know what I mean? Like I still love it at some level, but like what we're doing here and what I think the real conversation happening in the world right now is not political. There's a class of people that are trying to make everything political and keep you confused and controlled.
Including the Russians. Did you see the latest? The Russians, believe it or not, one of their campaigns happened when, I don't remember which, was it the last Star Wars movie, I think.
I did see this. They said that The Last Jedi, that it was Russian bots.
Right.
Well, that's what Ryan Johnson, I guess, is
saying.
But
there is evidence that they were politicizing the movie, that they were putting out, oh, you're not going to like that robot because that robot's all about social justice. Yeah. I remember seeing it.
The movie did suck. Can we, please, you're with me on this?
No, I'm with you. But what I'm saying is, we have outside influences that are trying to make everything about politics. Read the book, Defying Hitler. It's the best best explanation of what happened in Germany ever, written by a guy at the time as a warning to the West, going, you don't know where we've been, you don't know what's happening here. Warning. And so he really gives you a look at what was happening prior to, and you can see it. You're like, oh my gosh, that's the World Trade Center going down. Oh my gosh, that's this. You can see it, we're repeating it. And he says right around 1933, nothing is not political. There is not one topic that is political. When did this happen to us?
It's incredible. I mean, I never watch cable news anymore, and I don't even watch sports channels anymore because it's all political. But when I'm doing cardio, I'll just flip channels. And everything you go to is political. The View is now always political if you're watching women's, basically women's television in the morning. The ESPN now is political all the time. I mean, every channel. So you probably turn on the Food Channel and there's some political situation happening.
Let me tell you something that I've never said out loud. The only person I think that even knows it in my own company is Stu, my executive producer. I couldn't tell you any of the names of the people that are running for House and Senate. I'm on talk radio. I don't care. I don't care. I pay somebody to look at that. Tell me, what's the balance of the House for the audience? It does not affect me one iota, except in the big picture, which movement is moving. It's a waste of our time. Think of how many man hours America has lost in the last 15 years. Think of what we could have done with all of this time. Forget about the money.
Is that the best argument for basically sort of classical liberalism or libertarianism, that if we could just rein this thing in, that not only could you live however you wanted to live, basically, if the government was just protecting your life and your property, your rights, right? That not only would that be good because you could do what you want, but it would actually, it would save you money and but yeah.
You'd heal. Yeah. You'd still have it. You'd have it still on the local side.
Which would be great. That would actually,
right? I mean, but what I mean is you'd still have people who would try to take the local area and they'd be the big boss of the area. So you'd have those things you'd have
But at least you'd have a little more control over that.
You could control it, or you could move to the next town. Yeah. You know what I mean? San Francisco can be as weird as it wants to be. They could live in, 6 feet of human poop. That's fine if that's what you want to do.
There's an app for the human poop. Did you know that? I'm not kidding. There's actually an app that tells you where human poop is on the streets in San Francisco. Literally, Glenn Beck.
It's insane. It's insane. I remember saying to people, there's going to come a time when you will not recognize your country. What you thought was solid will be liquid. What you thought was real will be false. You're not going to recognize it. We're not only so far past that point now to where you're like, I don't even know who anyone is. I don't know what is real, I don't know up and down anymore. We're so far past that. But what's incredible, and this is a good thing, or could be a good thing, because of technology, by 2030, you're not going to recognize anything. Nothing will be the same. Nothing will be the same. It will be the difference between looking at our lives in 2030, looking back and going, Dave, you remember 2018 when we sat? It will be as different then as if we were sitting in now and going, man, can you imagine what 1920 was like? It's going to be that different.
This reminds me of a line. I interviewed Peter Thiel a couple of weeks ago, and he said that crypto is for libertarians and AI is for authoritarians. And I think that sort of gets to the heart of what you're saying, because maybe what's going to happen here is that as our institutions, our political institutions, academic institutions, media institutions, as they become so big, they can't sustain themselves anymore. So maybe we will sort of break off into smaller communities, whatever that means, and we'll sort of.
About. That's what the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution encouraged. Break off, do your own thing. You should be a little laboratory. Be a little laboratory. You come up with something great. I'm sure the other states and the other cities will adopt it. If it works, we'll all love it.
Yeah.
Stop. It's not one experiment.
Why are we
millions.
Why are we so afraid of that? Because I push that idea constantly, and it's like, just that the laboratory should exist so that if you want low taxes, you go here, but then if that screws over the schools, then go somewhere else, or whatever it is that play. But people are really afraid of that somehow we're not actually America if we don't live under the same exact laws everywhere, which, as you said, is the antithesis of the founding documents.
I think people just have been convinced that people are not trustworthy. Well, people aren't trustworthy if they never get in trouble. Banks are not trustworthy if they never have to pay for their own mistakes. They're not trustworthy. When you have to pay for your own mistake, you learn.
Yeah.
And people generally become trustworthy. You brought up Peter Thiel. People ask me all the time, are you concerned about Yes, I'm concerned about deplatforming, big time. And especially, Dave, with what's coming with deep fakes and there is trouble on the horizon. Peter, every time somebody says something, I always say, the guy who can solve this is Peter Thiel. Because we need a platform, and I mean left and right, a platform whose charter is the Bill of Rights. That's it. If you agree with the Bill of Rights, you're not trying to shut anybody up, you believe in these things, these human principles, what make us human, come on, put your thing on here. We're not going to kick anybody off. We're not going to do anything. This is a place where speech will be protected because thoughts are supposed to be dangerous. It's only the dangerous thoughts that led us to the moon. It's only the dangerous thoughts that invented television or the internet. It's a dangerous thought that said, I wonder if I can make fire like the sky does. Yeah. That's a dangerous thought. You're going to burn everything down. Well, they didn't.
Yeah. Well, I can't say more than if you saw my chat with Eric Weinstein a couple weeks ago, the billionaire class is talking now. So there is
I am happy to hear that.
Yeah. One other thing on that, and then I will let your staff do other. I assume they have other work to do around here.
Yeah,
you people doing other work around here?
I've got 3 other shows
you got
to
things
do
to do today too. Do you think that if we get out of this thing and it's basically okay, out of this sort of morass that we're in right now, and that it's basically okay, that we'll look back on this and think, whoa, there was something really good that came out of it? Because
yeah. Barack Obama was my biggest nemesis. You don't know what it's like to come under attack until the President of the United States, and I've had 2 of them now, is coming after you directly and using the force of his friends and allies to come after you.
Who was the other one that went after you? Was it not Trump? It was Trump?
Yeah, at the beginning.
Oh, at the beginning.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So,
but did he call you after you basically were like, all right?
No,
nothing.
No,
You didn't get anything? Nothing?
No.
No. All right.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
That will come out on their side, that we'll look back and this is good.
Barack Obama and Donald Trump have been some of the best things that's ever happened to me. And I don't mean financially or, whatever. I mean as a man. Because they've both taken me by the lapels and shoved me up against the wall and said, what is it you really believe? We are so blessed. Do you know that really, even my father's generation, he came at the end of, he was born in 26, so he saw World War II and stuff. But anybody who really grew up and lived from 1946 until now, we really have been very blessed. But we've also been cursed. Mm-hmm. No one has had to have everything about them challenged. I'm a better man. You're a better man. Because every time somebody throws you up against the wall, we will be a better country. We'll be a stronger, more vibrant, more free people if we behave ourselves and learn from what's throwing us up against the wall.
That's how you end an interview, Beck. Good work,
Thank
brother.
you.